Hi guys, Simon here from ZubarSoft. This session we're going to look at how to set NURVE up. What do you need to do right out of the box? Assume you download it, you've got it installed. What's the best way to go about it? So there is a bit of a checklist, but straight up, the first thing I'm going to say is ensure you have appropriately staffed your packaging team. Get good guys, get them on site. Offsite packages work for simple environments. Most environments are not simple, so get your packages on site, get them ready because they're going to have to do a lot of work and your project depends on it. That's step one. Then we want to log on as the NURVE system account. The default password is admin. You want to create an admin user for yourself. Log in with that account. Apply the license. Then you want to go to the system configuration page and set up as many defaults as you can. Then you want to go to the system integration page and set up the required components that you want. Then you need to get your sites imported. There's a CSV file template provided to import them. If you have SCCM, import your computers and your users. If you also want to survey your users, then create a survey, create a distribution list, create an invitation, and do a test survey. Edit the blacklist to be appropriate for your environment. Set up your teams, and you're pretty good to go. That's a big list. So we'll run through everything one by one. This is going to be a long session. I wouldn't suggest you watch it if you're just looking for an overview on what NURVE is. There are some other videos on the website that will show you that kind of information. This is much more in depth. So let's kick it off. First up, we're going to log in as NURVE system. I'm going to head over to Administration, Users and Security. And go New. Add myself in here. Our favorite dummy company, my admin type. Set a password. Set a secret question just in case I lose any information, and that's it. Okay, we'll log out of the NURVE system account because we're not going to need him. Log on as me. Okay, let's apply the license. Go to the licensing page. I already have a demonstration one assigned to this computer, but select your license file, apply, and you're good. Go to the system configuration page, administration, system configuration. So these items aren't particularly important, but you probably want to set those for your particular locale. Project start date and completion date, a pilot start date and end date if you're planning on having a pilot, a deployment start date and end date because you are not necessarily going to be deploying for the whole time your project's running, a project name, typically it's been stood up under a particular name, the operating system being deployed, the NURVE server URL, that is NURVE typically, the survey URL, which I typically call survey, Microsoft upgrade at your particular company, maximum report size, you can leave that default page size, 30 is the default. I don't think there's any particular reason to change that. I wouldn't go much over 100 just because that much data on grid pages tends to slow things down fairly heavily. a branding image that goes onto the survey. We'll get to that at some point. The average packaging time for a very easy application, default set at 1 day, easy, normal, hard, very hard. You can alter these if you want. People have very different ideas about how long it actually takes to do a package. Obviously, 1 day is pretty short if you include things like UAT time and time to get the application into your deployment products, whether it's SCCM or Tiris or Radio, whatever it is. So you can adjust those as you see fit. The application lock password, this prevents people from editing the list of applications that are assigned on a particular computer. You can make it an admin function or just trusted people. By default, the password is lockme, LOCKME. Use deployment date for weekly deployment rate, the required weekly deployment rate, and the required weekly packaging rate. They're metrics to say you've got 200 packages left to do and your project finishes in 4 months, you're going to need to do 15 a week. Those kind of statistics. Automatic site scoping for computers. This is where the default gateway of a computer, when it is surveyed or imported, can be matched to the default gateway of a particular site, and if they do match, then that computer and the associated user will be put into that site. You can apply it retrospectively as well. So if you go and create all your sites, and then you import all your data, or you do a survey and you get all your data, you can push the apply retrospectively button, and everything will be linked up. Or those things that can be linked up will be linked up. These three items are a little difficult to describe without having gone through some of the other data, so we'll leave that for now. We'll come back to those in a bit. Save your settings there. The next step, the system integration page. So, put in here your relevant, that's a server name, so server 01, whatever it may be. Your LDAP string. And your authentication. Okay, you can validate just to see whether or not you can get data out of there. I'm not going to because I don't have Active Directory integration on this particular demo box. SMTP server configuration. Again, put in your server name and your port, whether or not you require a secure connection. Enter your custom authentication. Push validate. You'll get a validation email to the address at. Let's go back to the system configuration page. This is the default email address. So you'll get a test email sent to that address when you click validate. SCCM Central Site Server Configuration. This is the SMS provider that you need to provide access to. That is for the purpose of adding machines and users to collections, and SCCM database configuration. So this is related to importing the data from SCCM to read-only account is all that's required for this one, and it also refreshes the SCCM data. You can if you do an import or you do a survey and the data sits there for 8 weeks and you're wondering if it's all still current, you can, on an individual computer or on a multi-selected computer, say, refresh the data for me, and it'll run off and see if there's any additional applications installed and blacklist out the ones that you don't want and ignore the ones that have previously been blacklisted, and give you the most up-to-date information. So again, validate and save. Okay, sites. Sites is the next thing to do, and this is one of those tasks that really does help define your project scope. Now, you could go and individually put all those sites in by clicking new, and we'll do one. Let's say Sydney, The site type, we don't have any site types at this stage. Actually, like just about all the drop-down menus, these are highly customizable. I'll show you how. You go to Manage Lookups and Site Detail, Site Type. We don't have any site types at the moment, but you could put in here something like branch and regional, metropolitan, maybe head office, something like that, and you can have a default of metropolitan. So there's a whole bunch of drop-down menus that you can configure to suit your environment particularly. So I want to just refresh that page. We'll see the options there. So there's metropolitan, all the others available. So we're going to Sydney. Site code can be SID, street address, I don't know, 245. Hunter Street seems like a suburb, CBD. Panel City, Sydney, state, New South Wales, floor, I don't know, let's say we're on the ground floor, on the first floor, on the 10th, 11th and 12th floors. Just for the sake of argument, postcode of 2000. If you want to fine tune the map location, you can. By default, you'll get if you determine that it's not quite right, you can move it a little bit. And you're good, and save. Now additionally you can add the default gateway is the big one on here, maybe the amount of bandwidth. We won't linger just for now. So there's one site. You don't want to have to do that unless you have a very small company. You don't really want to have to do that for everything. You probably end up creating a spreadsheet and then you can import. There is a template CSV file here. Download it, open it. You can get all your data from wherever you get it from, your CMDB or a business directory of some nature. Load it up into your CSV, import it is going to be the best way for sure. Okay, so I just added just paused the video and manually added a couple more sites there. Next up, we're going to create a survey. So the communications module, distribution lists, pretty self-explanatory. Surveys, you can either have user surveys, exit surveys, or custom surveys. And invitations join the two. So let's just have a look. We'll create a distribution list. It's not actually, let's go with NURVE add administrators. And we can add me, torso.com. This will search through AD at Exchange, assuming you have configured the LDAP string in System Integration Administration section. So you can add users that way, or you can import from a CSV. You can create these as dynamic SQL distribution lists as well, which is great to say. You can write a query that says something like, show me all the users whose deployment date was last night, and add that into a distribution list. Send some kind of communication if you would like. So that's a distribution list. A survey. Create a survey now. We're going to create a user survey. Let's just call it Windows 7 user survey, for example. Okay, the contact name might as well be me. Phone number 555-1234. The goal, Windows 7 rollout. Landing page text. Welcome to the Windows 7 upgrade User survey. Please complete this survey to ensure you have an optimal experience, or something, whatever you find appropriate. I always center it, and you can put raw HTML in there, so you can put links off to other sites, SharePoint sites, or whatever that might assist you on the project. An exit page, so something like thanks for your time. If you have further questions, please contact us on info@conterso.com, or whatever the relevant item is. So that's your landing page and your exit page. Down this side of the page over here on the left hand side, there are a bunch of default questions that you can either choose to show or hide. We've just found them common over the years, so we've included them as defaults. You can also ask some additional questions. Things like, if you have more than one computer, what do you need it for? Or you have any PST files locally? It's probably not a great question for a user, but you get the idea. Save that one. You can see here you can open or close it and require it by a due date, such that if they hit the link, then they won't be able to access the survey. So we have a distribution list, we have a survey. An invitation is effectively a subject and the body of an email that is going to go out. So the most common ones are deployment reminders, reports, and user surveys. Windows 7 user survey, that's what we'll call the invitation. And when we look at it, it is in fact the subject line and the body of an email that everyone in the distribution list will get. These are the variables that you can use. Now there's a link to the survey, a title for a person, you can see down here. So again, you can customize an HTML and have it go out any particular way you like. Now I don't have a SMTP server that I can demonstrate how that will work, but the link will just go directly to the link. So that's the format of it. Wherever you've put your virtual directory or your application, plus /survey /userwebform.aspx !mark survey ID and the actual survey ID. So if we push go on that one, here we are with the introduction page, the landing page. So there's the text that we configured before. These items up here are configurable. I'm just going to back to the system configuration page, show you. So this item over here, Microsoft Upgrade Project, you can call it whatever you like. That's the project name that will always display at this point on the survey. And over on this side, that was from the actual survey itself. There we go, the survey name. It's the survey name. So you can customize those accordingly. This item up here should be, well, not should be, is your branding. So if you recall on the system configuration page, the branding image It's 278 by 80. You can add either blank, just a black fill, or if you're a vendor and you want something a little more commercial, then no problem, put that one in there. So we'll continue with the survey. It's a five-step program. As we can see here with the 5 steps, this page can take a little longer to load if you don't have any Active Directory integration, because it's trying to pre-populate all the information on the page according to the logged on user. So typically you'll get just about all of these fields filled out. Anyway, I'll just put them in manually. Domain, telephone, these are optional, but I'll add some in just for the purpose of demonstration. And these items are managed again by a bunch of drop downs. We don't have a company, so let's just go back to the managed lookups page. And it's the item down here, user detail company. Obviously you can have multiples if you like. Some organisations are structured like that. Just come back to this page and reload. Will do. Okay, then all of our drop-down menus here, they are enabled by, or when they're chosen, to only show the relevant options. So it makes it easy for users to choose an item. The list doesn't become huge, because of course sometimes you can have you might have hundreds of physical sites. Step 2 is about where the physical computer is located. So is this computer located at the same place as the user? Typically it's going to be yes, but if it's not, then they can put some extra detail in there. Click next. Now the applications, this is can be daunting straight up, but there's easy ways to manage it. So this is a list of everything that is in add remove programs for this computer. Now we don't want to see just about all of it, because it's not relevant to a user. They're just not going to know what any of it means. They're just going to be confused. So there's a way to manage that as well, of course. The application blacklist. So straight up, you're going to want to put in some things like Microsoft Update. You'll want security update. You'll want hotfix. You'll probably want Intel. You'll probably want driver. Well, that might be a little broad, that one. Might be a bit dangerous putting that in, but for the sake of demonstration. I know on this demonstration box on hosting SQL Server, we don't want to see any of that, and certainly not for users. So what do we see then? And the page is significantly smaller, but there's still a bunch of stuff that we don't want to see. We don't want to see anything with MUI or .NET or Visual C++. MUI, .NET, Visual C. That'll do for the moment. It's good as an example. So you can see you can quickly cull out the stuff that you don't want to do. Great if you do this kind of survey, building your blacklist on a machine that is typical, representative in the environment, and I would do a few different ones. So users will ultimately see this as part of the survey routine, but if you continue to just tweak the blacklist, then they'll really only see very few applications. So let's say we go, well, I use Foxit Reader, Camtasia, 7-zip, and Office. What else do I use? Oh yeah, Flash. Sure. Okay, next. This is a peripherals page, so you can add into these fields, or your users can add into here, maybe iPhone, HP 7000 plotter. I don't even know if there's an HP 7000 plotter, but you get the idea. And over here, this is just for auditing records, so it will take all of the network and local printers. If you come back to a user after they've been deployed and they don't, no, I used to have this printer, or I used to have this network drive, you can see here there is a record of it. It's very convenient. That's the peripherals page, and these are the questions, the custom questions and the default questions, plus some additional comments. So I use multiple monitors. Yes, I'll be a part of a pilot program. That sounds great. I'd be interested in personally upgrading Windows to Windows 7 via a self-service option. If you have more than one computer, what do you need it for? I have no idea. I take it home, maybe. No. And additional comments. You know, they'll put a wide array of interesting stuff in here. I'm away during June, so don't roll me out then, or something. So that's the survey. You know, we've taken some time to talk through it, so it's taken a bit longer than, or not a bit longer, a lot longer than a user would take. But let's have a look at the kind of data we get. It's listed here. You know, you push this kind of survey out to 5,000 users. They do it in 2 weeks. All of a sudden, you have all your computers, you have all your data. It's all listed in a way that, you know, makes sense, and you can, and that you can do something with. So here is the information that we have. A lot of technical information down this side, aggregated mostly out of, well, it's pulled out of WMI locally, but it's the same information that you get from SCCM. So some more of that here, your site information. This will be for scheduling a bit later on. The audited applications. So this is everything we said that we used and the usage that we provided. Everything that's down here, green means I asked for it and it's still up there, I have it and I use it regularly. Red means I said never, I don't want it, or it was automatically blacklisted out. Blue is I requested it and I use it sometimes. There's a green one. If you want to retrospectively add items to the blacklist, then you can add and remove things from the blacklist and it will show and hide from here. So if, for example, we put on here, Flash player. Okay, it's now telling you that there are existing strings of that nature, so some data will be hidden. So on a page refresh, we can see that Flash no longer exists as a application that's requested for reinstall, and orange means that it was requested, but it's been blacklisted. We're not going to get it because it's been blacklisted. So how do we deal with that going forward? Actually, before we go there, the other audited information up here, environment variables. Again, great for retrospective troubleshooting if you deploy some software and they can't get it working for whatever reason. Network. Peripherals, they're the items that were selected or that were submitted. Map drives and printers, as we discussed. Mobile, which hooks in up here as well. It's mobiles and peripherals as hardware components if you want to manage IMEs and pucks and all that kind of stuff. Plus some comments. Going back to the apps though, because apps is where it's at. How do we deal with these guys? Where do we go next? So there is a video just on applications, but we're going to run through it here anyway. If we go to the linkages page, the linkages page is effectively this list of applications requested for reinstall for everybody. Yep, there they are. They're the 5. So there are some options here. You can either go on a single or a multi select up to the tools menu and add them to the blacklist. There will be substantial amounts of data in here, thousands and thousands of lines typically. Add it to the blacklist. We're not interested in seeing it because it's not a real application, or there's only one instance, or whatever the business justification is for it. Or you can say, yes, we're going to do something about that and import it into the DSL. So Foxit Reader will just add that to the blacklist for demonstration. So there it is there now. Let's reload the page again. Come back into our audited apps. It's no longer there. For other applications though, let's say we do in fact want to package 7-zip and Camtasia. Come up and import the applications into our DSL. So these applications will be created in the DSL, the DSL being the definitive software library. Though all those packages that we believe we need going forward, you can turn them into thin apps or apps or whatever it is that you need, but they need to be dealt with one way or the other. So I'll leave that page up because we're going to need it ultimately. The DSL applications, you can now see we have they're both in here ready to be packaged. You can schedule them for packaging. Let's say we want them by, I don't know, the 25th of September. So get onto it. That's great. What does that mean in here? Well, if we refresh this page, then we can come over to matched application and say, well, anything that had this version over here is now going to get this version. And anything that had this version of Camtasia is now going to get this version of Camtasia. And there might be significant numbers, particularly with things like Adobe products, all the common ones, the readers and the flashes and the shockwaves. They all end up with plenty. They're usually going to be tier 1 applications anyway, but you can have 20 different versions of an engineering application just because people run slightly different versions or whatever. If you can consolidate them, then you can consolidate them. If you can't, then you just create an additional DSL application, link it to the ones you had. So now, because those are matched, if we come back into our computer, refresh the page again, and come back onto our ordered applications, we can see that they're now linked. Every computer that had the old version now knows about the fact that there's a linked version available for it. Pushing this button here, assign, will actually make sure it gets onto the computer. So there it now is. We couldn't just rely, or you can't just rely on this page getting the applications back on, because there's a chance that you might want to manually put other applications on as well. So ultimately this list is everything that is in the DSL applications, and you can just plonk them down, assign them to the computer manually, or remove them manually if you want as well. You don't have to have this button pushed for everything to be assigned. If you think that if you can imagine a world where you've got 2,000 requested items and it rationalizes down to say 400 or 500 applications, and there are people constantly updating and changing things, and not constantly later in the project, but at least early in the project, you don't want to push all those buttons manually during the day. So the system configuration page allows you to assign all of them in one go, and in fact you can schedule it as well. So that's what those settings are about. You can also do it individually from a DSL application as well, if you want, with this button just here. Okay, so there's a lot of information there, but that's a really good detailed look at how to set up your applications, how they work, how to blacklist out, and how to get applications through into your packaging pipeline. The last section that we need to look at is teams, setting up teams and how to schedule. Now, you don't need to use teams if you don't want to, but they're a really good way of breaking down your project into manageable chunks for certain people to take control of from a project director's or a ultimate project manager's perspective. They can delegate really well down the line. So come onto the teams page. Typically I give them color names just because they're easy to recognize. We'll call one team green, team yellow, team blue, team red, Now we need to put our users into our teams. Now, at the moment, I'm the only user in the system, the only NURVE user. So if we head over to users and security and go new, and create some dummy users. These are the available account types. We'll make Bob an admin, and we'll choose to make him team leader of Team Green. Now, people will only be able to schedule computers for those teams that they are members of. So you can put someone in as a global, into the global team. They'll be able to add computers to any other team member's schedule, or you can break them down by individual teams. To set a password. And we need a secret question in case people forget their password or it gets locked out. They can help themselves to get back in. We'll save that. We might just add a photo. These can be a bit of fun for your project. There's Bob, and you can give them an alias as well. So just going to create a couple more users here, so I'll just pause the video while I do that. Okay, so I've just created these guys quickly and made them team leaders of various teams. We come back to our global dashboard. You can see that we now have our team leaders listed up here. As you click on each one of these teams, then the statistics will change for the dashboard and show you all the items that they're responsible for. So the global view, we only have one computer, we only have one user. There are 3 sites, there's 1 application. It is a global view. You drill down onto one of these guys, you'll only see the computers that have a schedule that is related to their team. So for example, at the moment, let's have a look at all computers. It doesn't have a schedule at all. Yeah. So if we give it one, my account is global. I can't assign it to a team because my account is not associated with any team. Yeah. So I would need to head back over to my user. So we have no team listed here. Global. Okay, and save. Come back onto the computers. Set this to planned, and I can now see all the teams and I can schedule appropriately. So let's say we want this particular computer built on the 16th of October specifically. Now, and we can now see it listed. If we come back into the dashboard, refresh the data, we'll see Marilyn has 1 computer assigned to her, which she needs to get done. Now obviously, you're very, very rarely going to schedule 1 computer at a time. This thing's going to have, 5 or 10 or 20,000 computers in it. After you have all those computers in there and you've got them assigned to sites, you can only schedule machines that are in the same site. So you can't just choose a huge swathe of computers and go, we'll assign those to have 1 person to roll out on a particular time. They need to have the same site, but once you have them, you can multi-select or you can schedule sites themselves. Yeah, so you can schedule a whole site by coming up to the tools menu, schedule, and that will apply a schedule to all machines in that site. You can view all schedules for both applications and deployment tasks on this menu item here. So that's pretty much it for getting set up in NURVE and getting your project ready to move correctly. Hope it's been useful. Don't forget that checklist at the front. Grab a screenshot of that or print it out and take notes. And if you have any other issues or questions, then check the website out and shoot us an email if you need some more information. Thanks.